All right, welcome to lesson 2.2a. We are going to be talking about scientific notation with positive powers. Our objective is that I can get rid of that typo. I can convert large numbers between scientific and standard notation. And this is just with positive powers. Quick reminder, standard notation, just a regular number. Scientific notation is always going to have a decimal, and then we're going to multiply by a power of 10. So, for example, 37,400 is the same as 3.74 times 10 to the fourth power. These represent the same number, just written a little bit differently. Let's first look at how to convert from standard to scientific. So here we have a bunch of standard numbers, and we're going to convert them all into scientific notation. Our first step is to place a decimal after the first non-zero number. In this first example, that would be after the 4. So I'm going to write 4.7. And I can put in the zeros if I want to, but I don't have to. Next, we're going to count from the decimal to the end of the number. 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 spots between our decimal and the end of the number, which really means we moved our decimal 1, 2, 3 spaces to be between the 4 and the 7. And we're going to write that number as a power of 10, which means we're going to take this, we're going to multiply by 10, and then the power is how many jumps we move the decimal? 3. And that's it. We would read this as 4.7 times 10 to the third power. Let's look at our next one. Step 1, we're going to place the decimal after the first non-zero number. First non-zero number is 2. I'm going to just write 2.5. I'm going to ignore all of these zeros because these zeros don't change the value of 2.5. We know we're multiplying by 10. Pardon me. We know we're multiplying by 10 to a power, so we need to figure out what that power is. So we put the decimal right here, so that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to say 10 to the fifth power. Let's look at the next one. We have 68,100. First non-zero number is the 6, so I'm going to say 6.8. And then we have another number here, so I'm going to put the 1 as well. You can include everything that's not a 0, unless it is between numbers, and we'll get down to that one in a moment. We know we're multiplying by 10, because that's what scientific notation looks like. And we have to figure out how many spots do we move our decimal. What's here? 1, 2, 3, 4. So times 10 to the fourth power. Next we have 4.15. Or 415, excuse me. I'm going to make that 4.15 times 10. I moved my decimal 1, 2 places, so times 10 to the second power. All right, here we have 93,001,000. First non-zero number is 9, so I'm going to put the decimal after that. 3. Now, normally, if these were all zeros, we could ignore them. However, there's a 1 right here, which means I need to include all of the zeros between the 3 and the 1. So 0, 0, 1, and then anything after that I can ignore. If you have zeros after your number, with no non-zero number at the end, you can ignore those zeros. We're multiplying by 10. Now we have to count from the decimal to the end of the number. We put our decimal here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right as the power of 10. So we have 9.3001 times 10 to the 7th power. Cool. All right, let's look at the opposite direction. What if we start with scientific and we want to move to standard? Step 1 is to rewrite the number. Here we have 3.5 times 10 to the 6th. What we're going to do is rewrite it without times 10. So I'm going to say 3.5. Cool. Next, we're going to move the decimal the same number of spaces as the power. We have 6 in our power, which means we're going to move our decimal 6 spaces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll even label these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we fill in our gaps with zeros. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, which ends up with 3, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. And we could put a comma in here and here. So 3,500,000. Notice I'm putting the zeros between the decimal places. So these in the curve. The curve is where the 0 goes because that's between where our decimal point would go. Let's do another one. 9.204 times 10 to the 7th. We're going to rewrite the number without scientific notation. So 204. We're going to move our decimal 7 spaces to the right. 1, because positive numbers tell us to move our decimal to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fill in gaps with zeros. And we end up with 9204, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, and we can put in some commas if we wanted to. All right, next we have 5 times 10 to the 4th power. We write the number without times 10. We don't have a decimal, so remember, when there is no decimal, it comes right after the whole number. So it'll be at the end there. We have to move that decimal 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fill in with zeros. And we end up with 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. 50,000. 6.54 times 10 to the 3rd. We're rewriting 6.54. We're getting rid of the times 10 to the 3rd. And then we're moving the decimal the same number of spaces as the power. Power is the 3rd power, so we are going to move it 1, 2, 3. Fill in 0. And then we end up with 6,540. Lastly, we have 1.02 times 10 to the 1st power. We rewrite our number. We only have to move our decimal 1 spot. Boop. We end up with 10.2. Cool. All right, go ahead and move on to practice for 2.2a. And let me know if you have questions.